I think the biggest thing is that people have to look at this as a business, right? You can't just look at it as a side hobby. I'm going to do this on nights and weekends. This is a true business. And so if you're not really ready or willing or wanting to actually start another business, because we're in the process of building out a team of people, right? We have a full-time director of asset management. We have a director of marketing and PR. We have an investor relations lead. I mean, we're starting to build out this whole team as well as our own managing partners, and we're looking to continue to grow that, right? So if you are wanting to do that and you're willing to do it, then to support your investors' investments, you have to build out a team like that to be able to help manage that money. And I think that's probably the biggest missing piece, is that people think of this as just as a hobby or a side business. And I personally placed an LP capital in a lot of other projects. And I'm right at about 23 different investments and with 8 different operators. And I choose to invest based on, are they treating it like a business, right? Is this some sort of a side hobby where they're still working a 9 to 5 and they're just doing this, for fun? Because to me, I don't want somebody to be playing around with my money, right? I want this. They need to take this seriously. They need to be full-time into it. They need to have those full-time efforts. And so I think that that's one of the main pieces is that they have to run it as a business, and they also have to have some form of background and experience in managing and running a business, because at the end of the day, that's what we are doing. Is the whole syndication piece, the whole private equity real estate firm is a business, but then we're also buying businesses, which again is a whole other conversation we can have about, are we buying real estate or are we buying a business? Because at the end of the day, we're really buying a business that just so happens to have real estate associated with it.
That's an amazing way to break it down. And I think anyone listening, you're spot on. I tell people all the time, if you want to make this like a little thing that you do on the side, that's fine. But you can't expect to you can't expect to turn that into, blank, because it's not that way. Because like you said, you're running your own business. There's little businesses inside your own, like you said, whether it's different roles to fill. But then also, like you said, you are buying individual businesses. Yes, it may not be a hardware store selling, wrenches and hammers, but you are collecting income. There is expenses associated with it, and every single asset you buy is its own business, and it's got to be looked at that, and it's got to be treated that way. So I think those are important things you bring up, because I would agree. I don't feel like giving my money to someone that's playing around with it, right? Like If you take any money manager, right? If a stockbroker or financial advisor called you and said, hey, we're just going to play around with it, you're probably going to have a totally different reaction to writing that guy a check. Hey, we're going to gamble, right? Like, we're going to day trade options and just play around. Like, whatever happens, happens. Then to the guy that says, this is what I've done. I've had experience with my hands-on operating, managing, doing this stuff. And this is what I do day to day. I wake up every morning and I eat, sleep and breathe real estate. And not just real estate, the intricate businesses that we buy. And every deal is a little bit different. Even if you have a generic acquisition criteria, they all have their own nuances. They're all in different submarkets. So I think it's important to realize that, because when you look at it that way, if I call people up and said, hey, I'm just playing around, give me a couple million, I don't think it's going to get as much weight as, this is, not only am I investing in it, but, this is what we do. We know how to do this. We do this really well. So I think it's important.
So I think one of the things that I would love to hear from you, Dan, is it's interesting to hear you. It sounds like you did some stuff passively with some investors, and then you decided, hey, I'm going to do this on my own. Did you decide to take a step back and then start the business, or did you start the real estate company first on the side, get some momentum, and then take a step back and then really ramp up? And then secondary to that, and more importantly, is you guys have obviously done a tremendous amount of business in the last couple of years and scaled very quickly and effectively. How have you been able to do that over the last 2, 3, 4 years? Time moves so quickly. I forget how long it's been. So, those two factors, how's that been like for you?
Sure. So I went into it full time from the very beginning. So I didn't start small. I just basically went straight into it. We did full time, and I think one of the biggest things that we've done is we've made our entire platform investor focused. And we're not here to just bring an investor on to just one project and that's it. Our goal is to keep these investors on for many, many decades, grow our own wealth for our families, but also grow other investors' wealth and with their families as well. And so we are very investor centric, and we do a lot of things to make sure our investors hear from us in lots of different types of media. So we have our YouTube channel. We put some content out there. We have a monthly email newsletter that we go out. We do. We have an actual monthly email update that goes out to every single one of our investors in each one of our projects, right? So they are apprised as to how the project's doing. And then we also do monthly distributions. So we do a lot of things that we know investors are looking for. And then we also do some print stuff. So even over here, for those of you who are watching the video version of it, we have this investor newsletter we send out. This isn't just a cheap piece of paper that's sent out. It's actually a nice high gloss, usually a 12-page newsletter that we send out, and we educate our investors. We want to make sure our investors are understand the types of investments that they're getting in, and the more that you can actually provide that kind of education to your investors, the more they're going to want to invest with you, because they're going to look at you as that expert. This is our newsletter that we sent out in May, and we have one here about why multifamily deals are falling out of contract due to the coronavirus, and then understanding the capital stack. And we have some custom graphics that we have put out in these newsletters so that our investors can actually see exactly, what they're looking at. So when they get one of our investment offerings, which this is our most recent investment offering, you can kind of see here as well if you're on the video version. This is a nice high quality, brochure, not really brochure, but investment package. It's usually about 60 to 80 pages, and we print these off. We mail these to every single one of our investors so that they can actually have something tangible in their hand. And so there's a lot of things we do there. And then we have an educational platform that's called the Multifamily Investor Nation. I do free weekly webinars every week. It's not a high-paid coaching program because I don't have the time for that. So I didn't decide to do a coaching program because I get a lot of people asking me about it, and I usually just refer them to other people that I know that coach, right? Mm-hmm. We do weekly webinars. Every single week we do those on various topics around multifamily to educate people. We have 50-plus meetup groups across the United States and Canada that actually meet on the first Monday of every month. Last couple of months due to COVID, obviously that hasn't been happening. And then, of course, I also get invited to speak at a lot of different events. And so I try to be in the industry as much as I can to be able to have people that are interested in investing, reach out and say, hey, I saw one of your YouTube videos, or I heard you on a podcast. And, we have our own podcast called the Multifamily Investor Nation. And so we get a lot of, leads from there. But I was actually just looking at it this morning. And this is the end of May 26th that we're recording this, 2020. I'm looking at my CRM dashboard right now, and it says we received 117 new leads off our website in the last 30 days. And so it's not like the leads have fallen off in the middle of COVID. I think they've actually picked up a little bit, because usually we teeter around like that 80 to 90 mark every 30 days, and now we're almost at 120. And so I think a lot of the different things that we're doing, which I always do what's called a multimodal approach to marketing to be able to attract new investors, or of course in our clinics, new patients, right? And so there's never really just one thing that just brings in a bunch of different leads. It's usually just that multitude effect of having so many different things that are out there working at different times that provides that consistent flow of leads that come in.
Awesome. I love that. I think that makes a ton of sense. I think it's something that we try to do similarly as well. One thing that we've spoken about, and I'm curious if it's something you've spoken about as well and or implementing, is paid advertising to generate investor leads. Is that something you guys have spoken about, implemented, and done? And if so, how has that been?
Yeah, so far we have not had any paid advertisements that we've done so far with our passiveinvesting.com group. Obviously with the MFIN, I do a summit twice a year, so we do some paid advertising for that. And we pay for the monthly meetups. That's usually a monthly fee as well. But as far as paid advertising specific to the passiveinvesting.com group, we haven't done it yet. We've talked about it. I've actually done some research and seen some other groups that have actually started to do that. I don't know what the success rate of it is, because usually I'll see people advertising that way, and all of a sudden I'll search it again a month later and they're not on there. So did it not work? Or did they run out of money? Like what that process is like, I'm not really sure. To me, I feel like the most the best way to do advertising with this would be to do more retargeting advertising, where somebody goes to your website and tries to find out more information. They don't fill out your form or reach out to you, but you can still kind of retarget them on Facebook or Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever they're going, or even just on Google banner ads when they're going on Bigger Pockets or wherever, and just continue to follow them until so they can continue to see more and more of you.
Yeah, I think, the ability to retarget is both scary as a consumer, but super powerful as, whoever the marketing side is. It's something that I've only, explored the tip of the iceberg of, and it's crazy how powerful it can be. So I'm curious to see how it evolves. One thing I am curious to hear about, as well as, building up a successful chiropractic business, and then, in the middle of, or have built up a, successful real estate business. How similar has it been between the two? Were there lessons you learned from the chiropractic business that you carried over? Are they very different? Are you running it any differently? How is your other, venture shaped this new venture?
Sure. I learned a lot of lessons in the very beginning with that first venture, because in the very beginning, I'll just kind of be candid with you in that I have a condition that is basically saying that I believe that I can do everything better than everybody else. And
you and me
I
both.
think I was going to say a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs have that problem, right?
Yeah.
And earlier on, I think it throttled my growth, right? It kind of stifled it in the beginning. And the moment I realized that was a problem that I needed to address was the moment I started to have that hockey stick growth. Because when you have that mindset, you feel like because you can do everything better than everybody else, that you should be the one doing everything that everybody else should be doing. And I realized early on that I needed to get out of that mindset. And I'll tell you, to this day, I still believe that. So it's a struggle every day that I still have to get over. So it's not like that's why I call it a condition, because usually conditions you don't get over, right? Or more of a disease, if you will.
Sure.
Right? And so it's one of those things where I'm just ingrained that way. But I had to tell myself earlier on that if I can find somebody else to do the task that I'm doing right now, and they can do it 80 to 85% as good as I'm doing it, then I can hire somebody to be able to do that. And of course, I always get surprised when I hire a good person and they actually do it better than what I could do it, right? But I still, again, have that problem. And that was really the main kind of pivotal moment for me in the growth, is basically saying, I know I can do everything better than everybody else, but I need to learn to delegate to other people. And the moment you can start to learn to delegate, and when I started to delegate, another flaw that I made at the very beginning was I tried to delegate it to the cheapest person I could find, right? Mm-hmm. And that's not always the best thing, right? You can usually find those diamonds in the rough, if you will, and they could pay them really low and still get a good result. But to me, I since then, I figured that out, that I really was just spinning my wheels, because I was trying to find somebody that really didn't exist. And I was trying to pay these low prices. But once I could actually pay what these people were worth, then I was able to find really good, high quality people that would stay around longer and actually did things better than what I could actually do them. And so that's what I've started to do, is started to surround myself with a team of people that I know that do things on a very high level and can take us and kind of grow us to the vision that we want to be able to have for our businesses, not just the chiropractic or the medical stuff that we're doing, but also with the passiveinvesting.com as well. I think hiring on those key people, even in the beginning when we couldn't afford it from the cash flows from the business, we could actually hire them on. They could allow us to be able to take us to that next level as we continue to grow.